Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. A Mercedes kind of sentiment, luxury and trust in me to honor the free. We all should be. It sees my sundial burst into yin and yang, right and left me.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Tattness podcast. Thanks for checking us out. If you're new, and if you're not, thanks for coming back, man. All right. So before we get into the show, I was thinking today. I woke up in a really good mood, actually.
Yeah?
Really good mood. But I was thinking, fame's a motherfucker, man.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's a funny thing, you know what I mean? I never thought in a million years I'd be known for shit. But what gets me is when I was thinking about it is, like, people say that, like, when you become successful and known and a public figure and all that great shit, like, you get this ego about you. And I was like, well, everyone that knows me well says otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking, what ego?
But what I found, actually, is that the people that don't have that success are often the ones with the ego.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because it's often the people that are like, well, I've never heard of you, so you must not be famous. Who the fuck are you? Mm-hmm. Just 'cause there's so many people that people have never heard of that are fucking extremely successful.
Yeah.
There's actors and shit that when you'll mention to me, they've done a ton of movies, and I'm like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And then I might even recognize the movies they were in. I'm like, I still don't know who that is. But that doesn't take away from what they've done.
Yeah.
People are salty as fuck. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's such an elitist mindset of, like, you can't be famous because I've never heard of you. Okay, cool. Well, your friends probably have. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or whatever the fuck, right? Yeah. Like, I still made money, bitch. So it's just weird to me.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I don't know, it's a random thought, but I was just kind of like, you see people that have reached a certain level of success, and then they lose, their spot on top, and they find other shit to do, and they're extremely fucking happy.
Yeah.
And I love that. There is life after success, and it's cool. Mm-hmm. And success does not have to stop.
No.
You can find other fucking paths, Some people get, what you call the 15 minutes of fame, what have you. And I'm still, I think, enjoying mine. I'm still known. I do well, and I do fine.
Yeah.
And, but, I'm always working. I'm always doing other things. I'm always trying to fucking expand my brand, I guess. Yeah. But, I saw this interview, and it was, like, so fucking mind-blowing to me that it's like, I need to talk about this shit, because this is fantastic. The concept of, like, somebody who fucking went on to do other things. Vanilla Ice.
Oh, yes.
Went on to do other shit and became extremely successful at that as well.
Yeah.
And all the power to him. I think he's fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. And I love his mentality of just being positive all the time and, like, dude, life's good. Mm-hmm. Like, I work all the time. I do what I love. And in spite of all the bullshit, I don't like to be depressed anymore. I don't like to fucking, even listen to my own shit that makes me depressed. I wrote that at a certain time and what have you, and it bums me the fuck out because I wrote it from a place of depression back then.
Yeah. And
now I'm a happy person, man. I'm grateful for everything. I'm doing extremely well, and I love it. So I thought, well, that's fucking cool. But he hit the nail on the head with something. And you'll appreciate this because you were born in 1990. I was born in 83.
Yeah.
So I talk all the time about how I love the 80s. I miss the 80s. I think it was a great time.
Yeah, and unfortunately I missed it.
But, hit the nail on the head when saying, when you think about it, the 90s was really, truly the last great decade.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because the world changed after that.
Oh, absolutely.
The only thing since 2000, when you actually look it up and figure it out and, kind of even your own recollection, what the fuck has changed since 2000 to 2020? Like 20 fucking years, nothing has made an impact in the world.
No.
Except technology.
Yeah, that's really it. And let's face it, like, when you think of movies and music, they really declined.
Yeah, when you think about the 80s and 90s, the first fucking thing your mind goes to is music, fashion,
movies.
What you wore back then. And I'm a big fan of anything that makes me remember stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I love memories. I'm a very sentimental dude.
Yeah.
I don't care about materialistic shit. I don't care about money. I've made a fair fucking share of it, obviously. And I don't really buy stupid stuff. Like, well, rich people fucking do all this shit. Not really. I didn't spend all my fucking money on dumb shit.
No.
Fucking, I don't care about stuff like that. What I care about is, like, things that remind me of a good time.
Yeah.
In life. And So a lot of 80s and 90s, especially early 90s shit. And then 97 was a dope year for me. 99 was dope. But anything after that just got fucking, like, depressing, where it's like you have nothing to look forward to. You know what I mean? Like, can you really remember what the fuck? Like, is anybody known for what they wear in, like, 2020? You know what I mean?
Not really. A lot of the fashion actually seems recycled.
It is. It's the same shit from the 90s, you know, a lot of the same brands and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But then it made me want to make my clothing line fucking, you know, change all that. And it lit a fire under my ass, because it's true. And I was like, I want to be something that people 20 years from now, when they think back to what they were wearing in 2020... they think, oh, fuck, it was that Tattness shit. You know what I mean? And, you know, and I don't know. I think it just seems like a cool idea, like a motivator. Let's do something different. Let's fucking be creative or unique. And, you know, but that being said as well, before I go deeper into that, I just want to say that, you know, he started talking about having this team of people he works with, and I thought, well, that's fucking true. That you do what you do. And I talked on the last show about having to relinquish a little bit of, you know, creative control, and you know, stop being such a control freak. Now that the brand has expanded into so much stuff, I need help sometimes, man.
Yeah.
I can't do everything my damn self. And then I thought, you know what? You've been working with me now for 3 years, and I fucking appreciate that, man. Good, bad, the ugly. You've seen it all, and you stuck by me, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I just want to put that out there.
Thanks.
So, no, thank you. I mean, you know, I can be a fucking nuisance to deal with.
And I'm not annoying?
You know, but at the same time, like, you know, to have people that stuck by you, like Brianna fucking has been the best personal assistant since I fucking got this shit on the road. And you've been a fucking huge help, and I got a good team around me, man. That no matter what, you're with people enough years working with them and shit, they see everything. They see the good, the bad, the ugly of your fucking personality, and like the bad days and the shit you go through, all the personal stuff with my son and everything, man. And a lot of it's really hard to deal with, and you all stuck by me, and I appreciate that shit. So,
thanks.
Thank you. And thank Bree. But getting back to the point now, I definitely fucking miss the 80s and the 90s, really.
Yeah.
When you think about it. Technology has changed, sure. You know, that's the only impactful thing that's changed. That seems to be the focus of, like, the focus of the 2000s seemed to be predominantly in improving technology.
Oh, absolutely.
Computers, phones, you know, laptops, fucking...
MP3 players.
Right, but, you know, clothing has kind of been... You look at Jordans right now are still the same fucking shoes that people aspire to get.
Yeah.
That's 90s shit, man.
Or, you know even... Chuck Taylors. Those have been around
exactly.
the 20s.
I'm glad you brought that up because I love Chucks.
Oh my gosh, I do too.
But I mean, you know, fucking some things never die.
No.
They're so dope. But it's just weird to me that nothing has been groundbreaking in the fashion industry, you know, since the 90s. And it's like, we need to change this. You know what I mean? We need to leave our mark on the fucking 2000s, dude. You know, when you talk about things in the 2000s, like, it's always stuff like, you know, new metal and shit like that people cringe when they think about it now. And it's like, it was such a big deal back then, you know, in 2000 and whatever. But, you know, let's fucking create something that the 2000s you can look back at, you know, and be like, fuck, man, I'm proud of that. You know what I mean? Like, we still stand by that.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't know. I'll never live to see the day, I'm sure. But I'd love to fucking have, you know, 100 years from now, fucking people look back and still be like, yo, that brand was still dope, you know? And know I created it, and for the reason that I created it, you know, that my son passed, and I was trying to, before I knew he was going to be born with a terminal fucking condition, I was creating the brand to give him something to take over when I die. So, which, that being said too, I also addressed on social media at one point the reason why I do this show. I love my fucking fans, I love my listeners, and I appreciate every listen I get. Good, bad, and, you know, whatever, I don't care, you know, hate it, love it, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
It's still, I made you feel something, and I fucking want to do that, you know what I mean? That's my goal. But the reason I do the show is if I was to ever have another child, and, you know, like I said, on social media, when you lose a child at 2 years old, that's 2 years old and is gone 9 days after their second birthday, you really fucking realize that tomorrow's not promised to none of us.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we can forget this whole idea where you're going to grow old and die and all this great shit. Nah, it's not how it works all the time. You know what I mean? So it really, like, resonated with me that, like, nothing is promised to us. And I thought, what if I was to end up having another child? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, if I did, and then say something happened to me before they were old enough to even remember who I was or know anything about me, instead of having, leaving them nothing but stories from other people, hoping that their recollection is correct, why not leave them my voice, my views on things, my memories, my stories, everything. So it's really for them.
Yeah.
And I love my fans to death, and I love that they listen. I love that they supported every career I've ever fucking done. All my projects I do, they always support it, and I love it, and I appreciate it so much. And I'm so glad if they dig the show. I'm super fucking grateful, and I'm glad that they love it.
Absolutely.
And I definitely make it a point to make it interesting for them. You know what I mean? But ultimately, at the end of the day, where I live, where it hits me, at home, I do this for that purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't give a fuck if I was to wake up tomorrow and I had like one listener. You know what I mean? There's another reason why I do this. That's why I don't fucking do it for, these, I don't sell out. You know what I mean? Let's just say that. I don't like to bombard people with stupid ads and stuff. If I advertise anything, it's either something I'm working on because I want people to fucking check it out, or because I think that certain shows and whatnot deserve some recognition because I think they're fucking talented people that are really trying hard. They're passionate about something, and they put in some work. And, I'm not saying go and fork over money to them either. I'm just saying give them a listen, check them out, and you might like what you hear. So, because I did,
Absolutely.
And I'm particular, I guess, in a way. But I get set in my ways. That's all it is. It's not that the show's not good. It's, I'm like that with music. I'm like that with anything. Like new bands that come out, I'm really reluctant to give them a shot. I'll listen to it, and I'm already like, I don't know what it is about me. I'm like that. But if I like something, I endorse it. I was talking to a cousin of mine today about that, actually, and she thought it was pretty noble that, a good way to be that I will not sponsor or be sponsored by anybody that I would not use their product. Like, I believe in integrity first. You know what I mean? So I just don't believe in advertising shit that I don't believe in myself.
Absolutely.
That I don't like myself. So, anyways, back to the topic at hand. The 2000s are suffering, dude.
Yes, I have to.
Technology. Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
Technology is just kind of the primary focus. So,
it is.
What do you think?
I really don't think there is any defining people or products of the decade. It just seems like, early 2000s, we had, like, the groundbreaking technologies. Like, we had tablets, computers come into play. Like, we just had laptops come out. Was it the 90s that laptop computers started becoming prevalent?
I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day...
I believe so, yes, because my father had one, and he was a computer technician.
The internet really took off in 95, you know what I mean? And people started to have access to it. What people don't realize is that the internet was a thing in the 80s. It was just a military technology. That's all it was used for. It was the military used it. It existed, but it was very primitive. It was super, super bare bones. But it was used to get information on anybody and anything that they fucking needed to. It didn't have Pornhub and all that other shit. So if that's what you're wondering, no, it did not.
Okay.
I mean, good way to spend your time off in the military, but no, it didn't have all that shit. It was just bare bones, just down,
slow as
right?
Dog shit.
But what's the first thing people talk about when they mention the 80s? Is what they were wearing back then.
Oh, yeah, the fashion.
Right. You know what I mean? And then the 90s as well. Kind of the same deal. All the neon colors and all that good shit.
Big hair, bold makeup, stuff like
there's
that.
a lot of 80s carried over to the 90s, and then 90s had the grunge thing, or now flannel and fucking Doc Martens and chain wallets and shit were a big deal. Bomber jackets, all that great shit. I've been there. I've done it all. But, that defines those eras. And then what can you say about the 2000s? None of it fucking changed.
No, it's recycled, as I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Like, look at leggings, for instance. They were huge in the 80s, and then 2000s, mid-2000s, I'd say, they're huge again.
I know right now, I'm going to put this on record, there's some dirty pervert out there that's just like me, that's like, wrong, sir. You're killing me, sir. There is one thing that defines the fashion of the 2000s, yoga pants.
Yes.
All right, sir. Well played. I will give you that. If you're thinking it, the fuck does that ever make asses look good, doesn't it?
They're comfortable.
I don't care.
I love yoga pants.
I'm not wearing them.
Well, I would hope not, because that would be a little disturbing, but they're great. I'm sorry, but I personally don't really wear jeans anymore. I have jeans. I don't remember the last time I wore them. Like, denim shorts is the closest I'll go, but yoga pants, they make you look fantastic, and they're comfortable.
Imagine the imprint. You'd see my yam bag right through them if I was to wear those.
Oh, my gosh. No,
Nobody
sir.
would appreciate that. But yet, y'all get to wear them fucking until the cows come home, and everyone's grateful. So, I mean, that's the only thing, though.
Really? Crop tops were around in the 80s.
Yeah, of course they were. They were huge. Dudes wore that shit.
Yeah, that's a little questionable there. But.
You know, the sleeveless fucking belly shirts.
The football.
The muscle shirts that they call them. You know.
Oh, my God.
We've all had them. I had them in the 80s and the early 90s as well as a kid.
Yeah, so they let you run around like that, huh?
We all fucking had them, you know.
Stirrup pants. Remember those in the 90s? And 80s?
Oh, yes, sir.
I had a pair of them and I hated them.
They were fucking ridiculous. I was like, I don't know how the fuck y'all wear that shit.
What was the point? Can I ask what the point was of those? Because the stupid strap would move when you walked. I was like, fuck these things. I just push them aside.
I don't get it.
I get mad when my mom would make me wear them, and I'm like, no.
I don't get it. I never understood it.
I don't either. But yes, yoga pants, I guess, are the defining thing. It started with leggings, and then it evolved into yoga pants with skinny legs.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it at all.
I don't think a lot of people are.
But, I mean, come on, man. We need something more for this era. We're letting it go by, and all we have is technology. Mm-hmm. And what is the technology really kind of gearing towards at this point?
I have to say, kind of, for lack of a better term, dumbing us down.
Invading your privacy.
Yes, look at all the digital assistants now. It's laziness. Like, I saw a commercial, I think it was for Alexa, I think it was, and this chick's in her van and she's typing and her friend messages her. She doesn't even, look over at her phone. She's like, Alexa, blah, 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 blah. And
I don't trust those things.
I don't either. That's why I would never want one in my home.
Talk about, having you pay the government, and I know it sounds paranoid, but talk about having you pay the government to bug your place.
That's stupid.
You know what I'm saying? They used to have to sneak in and do it, and now...
You're just willingly...
Now you're paying them. You know, you're buying it. I don't know, man. Doesn't... I've heard weird stories, and I'm just like, nope. You know?
No, thank you. I mean, if you... I'm thinking if you really wanted to fuck with it, just, mention all this criminal activity and wait for things to happen. But
I've seen videos, too, where they actually ask that fucking thing certain questions, and it leans toward a certain political stance. Very bizarre. And I'm like, nah, I'm
too
good
weird
on that.
for my taste. I mean,
yeah.
I am guilty of using Siri on my iPhone and that, but that's usually when I've had a few to drink and I'm just doing it just for fun to see what kind of nonsense that thing pulls up.
I fuck with Siri all the time just because it's entertaining. I ask that bitch to marry me all the time. She's like, let's just stay friends, okay? I'm like, you know it all, cunt.
And I curse at the thing, and it's like, that's not nice.
You think you're better than me, Siri?
But it's just... I don't know. I rather just do it myself. Yes, it's handy. Sometimes when I'm in the car driving, I'll be like, Siri, play this or whatever, play my music. And it is handy because, you're not supposed to use your phone while you're driving. Mm-hmm. And let's face it, everyone kind of hooks their phone up to their Bluetooth or their auxiliary when they're driving for music. Because I know I do. I don't listen to radio. So it is, smarter. You're driving along. You don't like what's going on. You're feeling something. It does come in handy. But otherwise, I don't willingly have a digital assistant in my home. It creeps me out, like you said.
And, I mean, music is one of those things. It's a real bitch sometimes and I love it, how you could hear a song from any time frame, and you'll remember that decade and what you were doing when you heard that song, at the, times of your life that mean something to you. Mm-hmm. And I'm all about nostalgia.
Yeah.
I truly am. I am all about nostalgia. I'm all about good memories and shit like that. And so, therefore, You know, I love that. You can always rely on music to bring you back to a better time. But I'm afraid that 20 years from now, we're going to hear a song and all we're going to remember is fucking, you know, what kind of computers were out. That's not good memories, man.
It's not.
That's a dark fucking thought. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to remember what you were wearing back then because it's so generic.
It is.
You're not going to remember a lot of shit except for what you were doing on the internet, you know, at the time. And it's like we've become, like, so dumbed down, I think. And
for lack of a better term, yes.
Nothing to look forward to. You know what I mean?
No. It's just, you know, usually like, oh, new update for your phone or this feature on your computer. Nothing really exciting. Look at even video game systems.
Right. You know, that's about all there is. It's like the video game systems improve every year. The video games either improve or stay the same, or you end up shit. You know, and, you know, you got new computers, you got fucking all this technology, all the new phones, and you know, all that shit. But clothing is still generic. It's like, oh, shit, we wore in the 90s. Or it's gone downhill, you know? You got 20-year-olds wearing shit like they're 80, you know, with these, like, knitted fucking sweaters sometimes and weird shit.
Hey, those are comfortable, man.
I don't care. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just not unique. You know what I mean? It's
been done.
Then you got dudes wearing their fucking sister's jeans and shit like that, and it's fucking ridiculous. Like, that's not something you're going to look back on and be like, oh, I miss those days.
I actually want to point that out. A lot of, like, pants now are slim leg, tight fitting and that. I hate it. You know, I have a larger bottom and thighs, and skinny jeans, skinny legs do not look good on them.
Nah, I don't like that kind of bullshit.
I don't either. It's not comfortable, and it's like, good Lord, I went to go buy some new pants, and, you know, my yoga pants I love so much. I love flare leg. I don't like a skinny fit. That's just me, because, like, my body type, I'm not comfortable in it. It was damn near impossible. I had to back order online from, like, a retailer to get a pair of the yoga pants I love so much, and thank God they had my size. Otherwise, it's like, you know, this is what you got. Deal with it. But it doesn't flatter everyone.
Yeah, I think when the skinny jeans thing started, the thing that pissed me off was like they just eradicated all the baggier stuff. And it's like they just assumed everybody wanted to wear shit that's like 3 times too small for them. And it's like, no, we're not all into that crap.
No, and it's not flattering, like you said.
Right, all the stores that you would buy clothing at, I'm not going to name them, but you know, that normally you'd get what you like. Now they only cater to one demographic, and that's these fucktards that, like, wear their fucking little sister's jeans. I'm like, I'm not into it, dude.
No, and it's just, like I said, too, especially on men. I'm sorry, it's not flattering at all.
Yeah, nobody's trying to see my scrot through my jeans. Yeah.
Well, it's not good for you, health-wise.
It's not.
Men and women, especially males, like, that's a huge problem. I know it's kind of going a little off topic, but it's a big factor of fertility in that, because you're tightening the boys. They can't breathe, so therefore they can't function regularly, you know, regulate the temperature. Even like women, like, you know, things that are too tight down there, you're going to run into some women problems. All
right, so we kind of have one thing in common in the sense of I was born in the early 80s, so I was growing up, you know, I wasn't exactly a teenager in the 80s at all. But I was in the 90s, whereas you were born in 1990, so you were early, you know, young into the early 90s. So we have that in common, so let's fucking talk about, like, what we remember from our growing up. 80s versus 90s.
You want to go first?
Well, I mean, obviously, when you get into the 80s, you talk about the best fucking TV shows, the best cartoons, the best cereals, the best toys. Everything was built differently.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I had the He-Man fucking playset, the Castle Grayskull, and I also had Snake Mountain, and they were the best playsets ever. And then in the 90s, things went to shit. Honestly, I'm not knocking the 90s. I love the 90s for, you know, certain reasons. But toy-wise, and even cereals, like the things that you got in the cereals went downhill. The quality went to shit. They cheaped out on a lot of stuff. You know, there's a whole documentary on the He-Man playset that I had where the designer, the guy that created it, had his team pissed right the fuck off because they finished the mold and everything and they built it, and then he was just like, yeah, go and redo it because the doorway isn't big enough when the drawbridge comes down, the doorway is not big enough for the action figures to fit in. You have to duck them under, and kids aren't going to like that.
No.
You know what I mean? This needs to be accurately sized. And they're pissed, but they were grateful once it was all said and done and corrected because it sold like fucking,
hotcakes, like, basically.
Ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So it was one of the coolest playsets ever. And still to this day, if you go on any kind of 80s page on Facebook, those toys come up and they're like, man, I really miss this. I wish I still had mine. And some people are like, I still have mine. And it's still the greatest thing I've ever owned. And, in terms of toys and such. And like, we had the best of everything. And yes, 80s were a time frame of excess, and everyone was chill. You know what I mean? Like, we partied a lot, we had fun, even if you were a kid. No one cared. You go to weddings and get drunk, and people are like, who cares, dude? It's the 80s. You know what I'm saying? You listen to Guns N' Roses, you get your 6-year-old shit-faced. Not everybody, I'm sure, but...
Oh, my goodness.
I had a blast at wedding receptions.
Where was the adult supervision?
They're the ones providing the alcohol.
Well, I think didn't you tell me a story how like you chugged someone's champagne out?
My old man, in his defense, he was like, all right, he's had a few at a wedding reception. I think it was his wedding. And he was like, it ain't gonna hurt him. Fuck it. Yeah, you can have a sip of the wine thinking I'm gonna not like it, and that will be that, and that cures that problem. And as I sipped it, I started to chug it, and he's like, holy shit, wait. And he grabs the glass from me. He's like, you little fucker. Because I'm just like, now I'm like, bang, fucking wasted, and I'm having a blast, dude. And then I conned my grandmother into give me some of hers, and
and you're chugging it.
Oh, I'm having a great fucking time.
Oh my god, you little shit.
80s, bro. You had to party.
Oh, jeez.
I wanted to fit in with the adults, right? And I had a blast.
That's funny. I mean, I have some memories of the 90s. I mean, I have two half-sisters. They were teenagers in the 90s, so I did experience that. They didn't live with us, but, they were over visiting all the time in that, because they were in the next town over. And, I just even remember, like, I don't know, fashion in that. It was different. And a lot of it was, like, I'm sorry, I'm kind of, like, lost here. I'm trying to remember, because I was very, very young in the early 90s. I think when you get more of the later 90s and 2000s, that's where, memories do spark a little more.
Oh, for sure.
But it was a good time, though. I just remember everyone being chill, and yes, I did remember the hair, that's for sure, and some of the fashions, just like, frig, I remember, like, even the colors, like, pictures, just looking back, like, my parents wearing these bright-ass neon-colored windbreakers. And,
yep, neon colors.
My uncle and my dad in short shorts.
Oh, come on now.
Oh, my gosh, yeah, like...
No self-respecting dude wears that shit, ever, no matter what the decade.
Come on, man!
No, I'm sorry, but, in the 80s, it was dudes wearing Levi's and shit like that. And in the 90s, they never fucking budged on that.
Okay, well, they weren't like Daisy Dukes, but, not like board shorts now. Like, if a man wears shorts and they're like, to the knee or below the knee and they're baggy and that, they were just like, mid-thigh, let's say. Like, almost bordering on women's shorts territory.
That's fucked up. That would be more suitable for the 80s, I think.
Well, it was early 90s, so it was just starting to transition over.
Yeah, the early 90s really did kind of catch the remnants of the 80s, that carried over.
Well, I guess so, because then it starts to phase out, right?
Yeah, and I mean, for me, similar situation in the 80s. My aunts and uncles and shit were all like teenagers when I was born. Mm-hmm. So I had I lived with my grandparents and, in the first 6 years of my life. Mm-hmm. So I really had no aunts and uncles in my view. I didn't know what that term meant. Mm-hmm. To me, it was older brothers and sisters that liked to pick on me. But at the same time, were really cool to me at times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they would pick on you, but they still cared about you and they'd take care of you. But, they got me into stuff like Beetlejuice and shit like that. You know what I mean? I got to watch Beetlejuice for the first time because of one of my aunts. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Sandra. Which I was so grateful for because I wasn't allowed to go see it. Mm-hmm. The theaters wouldn't allow my age range into the theaters to see Beetlejuice at the time. Mm-hmm. I wanted to see the He-Man movie. Thank fuck I didn't get to go because it sucked. But back then, He-Man could do no wrong. Mm-hmm. Batman, I remember when that came out. I remember when Ninja Turtles came out. I remember when the cartoon was aired in Canada for the first time. And I saw it on one of the channels, and I was just like, holy shit, this is cool.
Yeah.
And then it became this huge thing, and I was like, holy shit, man, I love this. And then I had all the toys and everything. I didn't have the sewer play set, but I really wanted it. But,
no.
I had a lot of cool toys, though. I had the Ghostbusters car. I wanted the play set, never got it. Fuck me, I guess. But the 80s had the best shit. Nintendo, come on.
Yes.
It's still a throwback. All the great technology we have, video game wise.
And it's definitely improved.
All the amazing graphics, but yet you still go back to that fucking...
It's timeless. It holds its value. Like, that's why you ever notice now, Nintendo and that is re-releasing, like, mini versions of their game systems. Like, I actually have a classic Super Nintendo. It's a mini version. Yeah, and it's like... It's so much fun. Like, you can play, like, classic games on there. You can't hack them. Yeah. Mario Kart and that, Donkey Kong Country, you can hack it and add the games on there, but they still hold true to today.
You know how I know you're my best friend?
How?
The fact that I whipped that ass in Mario Kart and you still ain't mad.
No, I'm not.
A little salty, but you still don't hate me. So... That's how you know.
Grew up playing it. I played it occasionally. I had Mario Kart 64.
That is true. But when I was a kid, like, fucking Mario Kart was hard as shit. And now I fucking multitask while playing and whipping that ass. I owned you, and I wasn't even paying attention half the time. I was, like, checking my phone and shit while driving. And
Screw you.
I was drinking and driving. I was fucking doing all sorts of shit. Smoking weed and driving.
Oh my gosh.
Watch out for them red shells, bitch.
Oh my gosh. Well, I was going to say on the side note, I have, with that, sorry, Mario Kart 64 is better. More items and more drivers. That's just me.
I'm not mad at that at all. I think that's factual. I think it just upgraded and just, made it better. I would love to still... I don't play video games a lot. People are like, oh, you're fucking, you've done this, that, and the other, and the third, and, You're successful and shit. Why the fuck don't you own every system on the side? I don't play a lot of video games, man. But I would love to play, like, Mario Kart 8. When they brought in, like, the fucking... I think it was 8 where they brought in, like, the actual car dealership type fucking brands.
Really?
Yeah, like, you start driving, like, BMWs and shit, and Mercedes,
gosh,
and I'm like,
cool.
what the fuck is this?
Yeah, that's cool.
Making it an official race. And I was like, that's kind of cool.
Well, I remember Double Dash for GameCube. That was a lot of fun.
I don't know if I played that.
Oh, well, it was a whole different concept where you pick two characters, and they both have their strengths in that, and there's different categories of cars, like light, medium, heavy, depending on which characters you pick.
Oh, that's cool.
And, yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I do remember the later incarnations, which I haven't played. Personally, you can use like motorcycles and that, which was really cool.
That's tits.
But then it kind of takes away from the title Mario Kart.
Right, but going back to the 80s now, I loved Excite Bike. That was one of the tits.
I didn't play that.
That game was titties and beer in my view. Fucking absolutely amazing. There was a little hack that you could do where if you rubbed your back tire on another fucking racer's front tire, it would make them flip.
Really?
Yeah, they would just like flip and fucking fall off their bike and then have to run back to their bike, get on it.
Oh my gosh.
Just the whole fucking production, And it's like, you fucking hate when it happens to you, but once you learn, don't touch your front tire to their back tire because it'll do it to you. And actually pull up in front of them and do it to them. It's fucking awesome. And you can make your own track in that game, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I love Balloon Fight. I feel like that's the most underrated fucking NES game.
I feel like it is too.
No one talks about it.
I didn't play it personally, so I can't say too much. I don't have a dog in this fight.
Dude, Animal Crossing had it. You know what I mean? Because it was that fucking good. So let's be a little more kind at Balloon Fight, shall we?
All right, fine.
And if you don't know what it is, look it up. Trust me.
Fine, I will.
Titties and beer, in my view. It's fantastic. Let's take a pause for the cause for a second while we're on the subject of paying bills and shit. Like we were talking about earlier, fashion. Let's take a little pause for the cause to fucking pay some bills with our own fashion, my fucking clothing line. And put that out there. There's a new website I want people to check out. So let's advertise that bitch without being obnoxious about it, shall we?
Absolutely.
And just so you know, if you check out the website, you can find the show through the website. So pass that along to your friends, man.
Absolutely.
The following is a message from Tattness Co. All right, Tattnessco.com is just about ready to launch.
Hey, what if we added a blog section so fans get to know more about who Tattness is?
You know, that's actually not really a bad idea. Alright, that should do it.
This link is not working.
Are you kidding me? We gotta get this done. Alright, cool. There, we fixed it. Now we can launch this thing, right?
Hey, did you remember to add the privacy policy?
Mother f***. It may have taken a while, but Tattnessco.com is finally up and live and open for business. And yes, we remembered the privacy policy. Alright, so I wanna compare now 80s versus 90s in a way.
Okay.
Because you take things from the 80s and then the 90s kind of jacked it up on fucking steroids, really, when you think about it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? We had Bugs Bunny in the 80s. I know it was older than the 80s. I'm not fucking dumb. Mm-hmm. But in the 80s, it was a very predominant cartoon, right?
Yeah.
Looney Tunes, all that great shit.
Yeah.
Then the 90s comes along, and there's these fucking shirts that took off. Something fierce.
I think I know which ones you're talking about, actually. One of my best friends had one. And it's like, it was Bugs Bunny and I think Sylvester, and they were like gangster clothes.
Yeah, thugged out. Bugs and Taz was like the common one. We all had it.
Yeah.
And then you had Space Jam.
Oh my gosh.
You know, staple of the 90s where you take Jordan, who was like, you know, Michael Jordan was a huge fucking deal. Mm-hmm. Jordan's shoes were like the tits. And now you put fucking Looney Tunes in there.
And what do you got? A fucking smash hit.
And then the soundtrack was dope as tits because you had every fucking amazing rapper at the time, damn near.
Oh my god, I still listen to that soundtrack. It's amazing.
You know, everyone that was making noise back then in the rap industry was on that fucking thing at some point. Mm-hmm. And then they fucked up, put R. Kelly on it, but whatever. But
I believe I can fly.
I believe you can do time too, motherfucker, for pissing on underage girls. But then you got the 80s, right? Like 89, because I grew up watching the 60s Batman TV show. Mm-hmm. And then 89, all of a sudden you get this really dark, fucking badass looking Batman. Mm-hmm. I still fucking say Michael Keaton was the best Batman ever. And if you disagree, fight me.
Well, he is good, but I grew up with the Val Kilmer Batman.
I'm not mad at Val Kilmer neither. I thought he was great as well. Mm-hmm. But to me, Michael Keaton was like the tits.
Okay, but can I just say this much? Fuck the George Clooney Batman. I'm sorry, Batman and Robin was a hot mess.
Yeah, I didn't like that. Yeah.
And it just made Batman into a smartass.
They gave the suit nips, bro.
Uh-huh, and they focused on the ass.
Yeah.
On all of them. I mean, with Alicia Silverstone, I mean, I guarantee a lot of people weren't mad, but come on. George Clooney's ass.
I know.
Chris O'Donnell's ass.
No, like, I'm good on that.
What was with the asses and the nips in that movie?
Alicia Silverstone, I think, in the 90s was everybody's fucking crush, though. Like, she was gorgeous. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And something about her personality. She was very lively and just like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. She just had that look to her that, you know, I thought she was great. Can
we just add something else about Batman, too? I mean, you said it like Michael Keaton was the best film Batman. I know they're re-releasing a new Batman film, and I'm not a fan of who they've chosen to play Batman. Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems that people are kind of addressing with that, where they don't like the suit and stuff.
I haven't seen pictures of it.
But they're fucking putting the blame on him like he designed the fucking thing.
No, he's just the actor.
Yeah, it's not fair, in my view.
But I can't picture the dude as Batman. Maybe it's because I have a bad taste for Twilight.
Okay, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Mm-hmm. Because guess what? When Michael Keaton was cast as Batman, everyone fucking protested and said, like, I'll boycott this movie.
Really?
Because there's no fucking way he would be a good Batman.
Oh.
And he addressed
he did a phenomenal job.
He addressed it at the fucking awards show when he won an award for the movie. And
really?
Yeah, dude. People sent angry letters and shit to the studio, and that made them want to use him more because it's controversy, and controversy equals cash, bro. Mm. So, you know, and he did a phenomenal job.
He did.
You know what I mean? I think he was the best for a reason. Mm-hmm. You know?
I mean, because especially the Bruce Wayne character is very, like...
brooding.
Introverted, I would say.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say socially awkward because he's struggling with his identity
right.
as Batman, and to be normal. That's why you ever notice he couldn't really have relationships with anyone but, like, Catwoman, really.
I don't want to get too deep into it, but
Yeah.
I do feel a lot like, you know, he's a rich dude that really kind of metaphorically touches on fame. Where, like, you're terrified to let people close to you because you don't know their motives. Mm-hmm. You don't think that they fucking want to truly get to know you because of who you actually are. And they probably couldn't handle who you actually are. So you keep them at arm's length, even though you're so desperate to have someone close to you in your life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Besides the hired help. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I feel like, you know, when you've reached success, you would understand that it's like, it's really kind of isolating like that, honestly. And I know maybe that was not even their intention at all, but once you fucking reach a level of, like, personal, you know, success and you become, like, a public figure and whatnot, people change around you, and then it gets really fucking hard to feel normal and have a normal life and kind of be friends with people and be close to people because they're always so fucking shady. And they always act like they care about you until you kind of need to talk or something. And then they avoid you like the plague. You know, you could post something saying, like, you know, you're going through some shit, and all of a sudden everybody's off Facebook for the fucking day.
And they don't want to talk to you.
No, but when they want money, you know what I'm saying? They'll hit you up with 47 messages, you know, in a fucking span of 10 minutes. You know, and you haven't responded to one. So... You know, I think if the 89 Batman was kind of portrayed more in today's fucking, you know, hey, being introverted is extremely difficult with social fucking media.
Well, you don't say. It's everywhere.
It
Pretty
is.
much 98%, can I say, people, like a safe estimate, maybe I'm overshooting it, have some form of social media.
I often joke that I became successful and, you know, public figure in the worst possible fucking era because people have access to you 24/7. Your phone is always on you.
Yeah.
Let's be real. You know, you can only say your phone died so many times, and then people start to think you're full of shit.
Well, yeah, because they'll be like, you could plug it in.
But then there's, you know, the whole thing with social media. The second you even connect with Wi-Fi without knowing it, Facebook Messenger kind of indicates to people that you're online when you're not.
That's annoying.
You know what I mean? And then people think you're ignoring them, and it's like, I'm really not. I have shit to do. It's called being successful. Like, you have things that need tending to. That's how business works.
Yeah.
You know, you never stop grinding, man. And people think, oh, you have all this free time now, and you can do this, that, and the third, and fucking you're ignoring me.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right about that, too. Like, say you're at work, and your work has Wi-Fi, and it connects, and then the people are like, oh, you're ignoring me. It's like, no, I'm working.
Okay, yeah, for those people that have, like, an actual real job and whatever, you know, I think people should be understanding of that. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of real 9-to-5 jobs and shit, I've done that life, and I know that they tend to have a policy on cell phones.
Oh, yeah, they do.
You know?
A lot of places, like, you know, state you need to keep it, like, not on your person, in your locker, and whatnot. But let's face it, a lot of people sometimes don't really listen, which is bad. But sometimes it comes in handy, depending on your job and that. I mean, hey, where I am, I could be handy for a calculator, a flashlight, whatever, right?
I've worked for a corporation that was very good to me, and you know, due to their retail nature, outside of the corporate, you know, we had all the product and what have you on site, you know, that would go to the corporate or the retail stores.
Yeah.
And they had a policy against cell phones being on you at all times because of corporate espionage.
That's true.
You could easily take pictures and send it to competition and be like, here's what they got and here's what they're charging for it, you know, when it reaches the stores. The stores choose to charge X amount of dollars, what have you, and it's just not good.
No.
You know?
And also, too, I guess other jobs, confidentiality.
Yeah.
That's a huge one.
I'm glad I don't deal with any of that bullshit anymore. I'm done with that life. And I know it sounds like I complain a lot about being, you know, fucking known and shit, but I promise you I'm not complaining. I'm grateful. I woke up today in the best mood because it's, you know, attitude of gratitude, man. I'm super grateful for all the successes that I've had that fucking people said I'd never have. And, yeah, sometimes I get a little bit, like, pissy about fucking, you know, people that claim to be friends and then you find out they just want something from you. It sucks. It's disheartening. It's disappointing. It's a letdown.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad at my success, and I'm fucking extremely grateful for every bit of it. I'm extremely grateful that I'm known by so many people, that people listen to my show, that people fucking support everything I do. My clothing line, my fucking books, everything, man. People have been so cool.
Absolutely.
And they have no reason. They don't owe me anything. You know? There's something about me, I guess, that they like. And again, I've said this before. For every one person that digs my show, that digs me for some reason, I'm sure there's a handful of people that hate my fucking guts. You know, that fucking can't stand me, and that's fine too. You know, I'm not mad at that. You know, again, what I was saying to you off air earlier is like the one thing I can't stand is apathy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Indifference. If fucking you hate my guts because of my views, I made you feel something. And that's what's really important. I left a mark. You know what I mean? And for those that love what I have to say and agree with me wholeheartedly, I made you feel something. And I appreciate that you could fucking relate. It's the people that feel nothing that I have a fucking issue with. Because it's like, you're so oblivious to the world around you. If when I talk about things that are happening around us on a daily basis, and you don't give a shit one way or the other as to what I said about it, and you didn't feel anything, you're so fucking self-absorbed that you don't even fucking acknowledge what's happening in the world around you. What I say, you should either fucking disagree with it completely and be pissed that I said what I said, or you should at least be like, you know, hey, guy's got a point, you know. One or the other, man, I don't care. You know, hate me if you like, fine. Don't really, you know, feel like I deserve that much energy, but if you want to give it, cool, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm not saying you got to praise me, man, but just, you know, at least listen to it objectively and don't, you know, be indifferent, because the world involves you. You live in it too, man.
Yeah.
But I feel like the 80's cared more about that kind of shit. And in the 90's, they tried to be active on that. And
then it went downhill, you would say.
Yeah, 2000s kind of became the fucking, you know, in my view, the narcissistic era, where everybody looks out for themselves. You know what I mean? Everybody cares only about themselves. I literally saw on social media today, and this is why I hate social media, it was an ad for GoFundMe, encouraging people, like, if you fall on hard times, or whatever the case may be, whatever makes you require it, there's people out there, man. You know, you can reach out, and you can get help. And people are laughing at this shit. And people are posting shit about having cancer and can't afford the treatment. And, you know, that it terrifies them to see the responses of some of these people. If that's how you view other people, you know, fuck, there's no hope for me. And people are laughing at that shit.
Oh, my God.
And it's like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's terrible.
There's some heartless motherfuckers out there, man.
Yeah. I mean, I understand if the GoFundMe's, like, for a selfish reason. But... my God, what happened to the sense of helping your neighbor? Like, say someone's poor family, like their house burns down in a fire, and they're getting fucked around by insurance.
I mean,
like,
you know,
good Lord.
It's funny that we used to say it takes a village, and now, you know, everyone's the village idiot that looks out for only one person, that's themselves. And this chick is like, you know, and I hate to pick on people, but she's such an ugly soul with the shit she's saying. She's laughing at everybody's posts.
Wow.
And then saying, you know, learn how to spell and stop relying on other people's pockets and blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, I look at her profile, because you know me, I got to check out the fucking face in which the stupid came from. And I'm like, okay, so when you fucking decide to go for liposuction and can't afford it, I bet you're going to use GoFundMe to ask people for their hard-earned fucking cash. You know, when you need that triple heart bypass surgery, you fucking ungrateful shit. You know, like, you're such a judgmental fuck.
Man.
Shame on you. You know?
Oh my goodness, for sure. Like, that's awful.
There's one woman, man, in the UK talking about her son committed suicide and she didn't have a dime to her name to give him a fucking funeral. And said, do you have any idea how embarrassing it is to have to reach out to strangers and ask for help? And my heart broke, and I reached out, and I commented, and I said, hey, I too have lost a son, and it's life-altering. Like, I lost a child myself, and it's life-altering. And, you know, good on you for fucking trying to, you know, and stay strong, man.
It's so, like, would you say degrading? Like, to stump to that lowest point and realize you need help and ask, and the person feels like shit.
But what makes
for even asking?
What makes them feel that way is knowing that these ignorant fucks
are going to laugh at them.
Are going to be in the comments saying this hateful shit.
I know, and it's
with no empathy whatsoever.
I know, and it's like, you think they really want to? If they could do it without the help, they would. But my God, life, it happens. Unfortunately, like you said, the woman whose son passed away, and funerals are not cheap in that. No. And then you don't work because you're off grieving.
Exactly.
And it's like,
and that's the thing too. Everyone's go-to is get a job. Who says they don't fucking have one and it's barely paying the bills?
Exactly.
I'm sure y'all can relate. I used to do the 9 to 5 thing, and I fucking know how it barely paid the bloody bills.
Mm-hmm. And so, my God, especially too, like I said, in that instance, or they're getting like cancer treatment. They can't work. And
I laugh because people are like, oh, stop relying on other people's pockets. It's like, bro, I help people just like you.
Exactly.
That fucking fall on hard times and like to privately ask for help. And I gladly do it. Mm-hmm. So stop being so fucking judgmental.
Exactly, because you don't know the person's circumstances. Like, yes, they probably have a job, and they can't work because of, they're receiving treatments themselves, or they're fucking grieving.
Right.
Excuse me.
Therapy ain't cheap.
It's not like they're just sitting at home and, I would really like to go on this vacation. I'm going to ask people for help.
Exactly. Now, before we go further and wrap this bitch up in the next few minutes, I want to give a shout out to a show that I truly dig. And I think people should check it out because I dig it, and I think y'all might too.
Yes, please.
They seem like funny cats, man. So check this shit out.
Yeah.
Hello there, physically attractive podcast listener. My name is Steve Ross.
I'm Sean Crandall.
I'm Dustin White, and we're the hosts of
Dregs of Craigs. On our podcast, we explore the most bizarre, repulsive, and downright confounding Craigslist ads we can find from all over the country, live for your amusement.
Come find out the best place to book an axe-throwing party for your child's birthday.
Stay up to date on Mario's Hawaiian Sex Marathon.
Or just sit back and relax as we make more anime references than any rational human being should be comfortable with.
It's a hilarious exploration of how we as a species are drifting further and further from the possibility of redemption.
And we want you along for the ride. Listen to Dregs of Craigs on Stitcher, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts.
So going back to 80's cartoons and such, I feel like they had more memories attached to them, and I feel like they had more messages to kids than, say, 90's cartoons.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, G.I. Joe's a prime example, right?
I agree, yeah. He-Man, really, at the end of the show, always had lessons, morals of the show that they would touch on after the fact. And I went back, honestly. I went back and I watched them again. And I was like, man, we really learned some shit as kids.
Yeah.
Watching these shows. And it kind of helped mold us into the adults we became.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds really cringy and lame and stupid, but it does. You got to understand, they say in the first few years of your life, it really molds what is normal to you. So when you have a cartoon character, for example, that you idolize, when they say to be a decent human being, you're going to think that that's the way to fucking live.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? If you idolize pieces of shit cartoons where they tell you to be a fucking scumbag, you're probably going to be a scumbag,
Yeah.
But it's whatever's normal to you, right? And so I found the 90's kind of lacked that morality in some sense. Not every show. I mean, sitcoms kind of took the wheel, I think, with that. Not that the 80's sitcoms lacked any kind of moral...
moral high ground, I guess you could
say.
Right, yeah.
But the 90's, I think, really had some solid shows that really touched on some kind of touchy subjects where it's like, man, they had balls. You had Family Matters that talked about racism. They dropped the N-bomb on the show.
Oh!
Yeah, dude. They had a fucking dude, like... they didn't show who did it. They just showed, like, the daughter character went to her locker, and that shit was spray painted on her locker. And I was like, damn, they spelled it and everything, man.
Oh, my God. And they showed it.
Yeah, they did not hesitate. And I was like, dude, but it's a black show, like a cast, of black people that really felt that And rightfully so, they felt that's something that needs to be addressed. Racism is a terrible fucking thing. You know what I mean? Racism's a son of a bitch. It's a real ugly fucking thing. And
It is.
It's so beneath us, and we need to do better. And they really had the balls to touch on that. They had the balls to touch on, guns. And people on the show finding out, like, that their friends had fucking guns that they were turning in because, that they never knew they had. Like, they were living a different life, man. And again, being of a minority or something, they felt for protection. They needed it, and because of statistics and shit.
Yeah.
And I was like,
really sad.
I mean, Fresh Prince touched on that as well. And then touched on drugs and the hard fucking topics of, like, fucking parents that aren't there and shit like that. And it's just
teens having sex.
Yeah, dude. They really went out and, got to the point, and I was like, good on them. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up watching that shit, and I loved it because it was so good. And it was compelling. You know what I mean? It's shit we can all relate to. So I think the 90s cartoons may have lacked that morality and the moral to their stories, whereas sitcoms picked up that torch and ran with it a little harder.
Would you say it's because the audience was growing up? Because that's why it moved from cartoons to sitcoms?
I think it's a mix of that, and the 90s tried to be a little more edgy. You know what I mean? The 80s were about excess everything. If it's fucking something you enjoy, do it till the wheels fall off. And then the 90s tried to be edgy and tried to, like, push the envelope a little bit. You look at shows like In Living Color, one of the best fucking shows
yes, it is.
I have ever seen in my life. I introduced it to your young
yes,
ass.
you did, and I still, I just crack up.
And for all the young listeners that don't know what it is, you can thank that show for Jim Carrey having a career.
And the Wayans family.
Or blame the show, I don't know, however you feel. David Alan Grier from Jumanji that played the fucking cop.
The first Jumanji, okay, not the one with The Rock.
Yeah, the first one with Robin Williams. All the Wayans brothers from Scary Movie fucking cast and before them. Damon Wayans, fucking Keenan Ivory Wayans, and then Sean and Marlon and
their sister
Kim and
Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez was a dancer on the show. Like, fucking so many people's careers really took off because of that show. It was a phenomenal show. Funny as hell. And the things they got away with, the thing that makes me laugh so fucking hard is Damon Wayans playing Handyman, where he's this superhero who happens to be handicapped. And he owns it. And when the one that pops into my head that makes me crack up every time is there's a guy who's actually handicapped who needs to go to the public bathroom, and when he gets to the stall that's for, the handicapped, there's some dick who's, like, clearly entitled, who's using it because it's more spacious, using the stall, but doesn't need it. Handyman hears this poor guy's cries and shows up and finds out, knocks on the stall door and asks this guy to remove himself. He's not very cool about it. So Handyman says the funniest shit that makes me laugh because then you realize he's not making fun of the handicapped or anything like that in reality.
He's advocating.
He's advocating and he's owning it. And he says the most badass thing for a handicapped superhero to say, because this guy gives him sass. And he's like, looks like somebody's about to join the ranks of the disabled. And I cracked the fuck up so large.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And, it's just so funny. But there's so much stuff they couldn't talk about. And then there's a fucking, a thing about Jamaicans on the show. About how they're calling each other lazy because they only had 36 full-time jobs.
Oh my gosh.
That they had to go to each day. You know what I mean? It's like 36 jobs. You're so lazy. I have 42 jobs by your age. And it was so funny because Jamaicans are some hard-working people.
Oh,
man.
Absolutely.
And I loved it that they're really having fun with it.
Poking fun at themselves.
And they just no limits. You know what I mean? They made fun of Vanilla Ice. They made fun of fucking Michael Jackson. But it was all from a place of love. It was all admiration and respect, and they were just having fun with it. And using, I showed you the Michael Jackson thing, where they were really using that as a platform to also speak about shit that was happening in the world. Where Michael Jackson's like on top of the car, breaks the window, does his thing. It's like a music video, but then a cop comes. And like Michael Jackson's doing this song about not knowing if he's black or white, because that was kind of what was going on at the time. And, it's a controversy. And then a cop comes and fucking grabs him, like, all right, buddy, you're coming with me. And he asks the cop, can you tell me if I'm black or I'm white? And he's like, you're under arrest. He's like, oh, then I guess I'm black. And I fucking popped large. I was like, that's the funniest fucking commentary on the state of the world and racism and stereotypes and all that. And I was like, that's so funny.
That is.
So the 90s definitely get a nod for that show. But the 80s are still very dear to my heart. But the 90s, that's kind of that, and the Simpsons really
we're defining.
Yeah, I mean the 80s too with the Simpsons, because I grew up watching them on Tracy Ullman show as like their little 30-second skits and whatever.
Before they came a full
before they had their own show. So anyways, let's wrap this bitch up. I just wanted to talk about how the last defining era was the 90s, whether we like it or not. That decade was the final one. Really,
I have to agree.
And I thought it was an interesting conversation to have. Anyways, man, thanks for listening. I'll check you guys out fucking down the road. I'll catch your asses later, man.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Smallness, a destruction of the fear in us. I have yet to know what I